Hey everyone, and welcome back. If you're managing a network in Microsoft Azure, you know that visibility, actually seeing what's going on, is everything. Well, today, we're unpacking a super powerful tool that gives you exactly that, the Virtual Network tab. So let's get right into it.
So think about this for a second. How do you really know what's happening inside your cloud network? You know, in the old days, with a physical network, you could literally clip a device onto a cable to monitor traffic. But how on earth do you do that in the cloud? How do you put a listening device on a virtual cable to see every single packet for security, or for compliance, or just to figure out what's broken?
Well, that exact problem is what Azure's Virtual Network tab is built to solve. It really is your window into all that cloud network traffic. So let's start with the basics. What is this thing exactly?
At its core, a virtual network tab, and tab stands for Terminal Access Point, is an Azure feature that lets you create a continuous, mirrored stream of your virtual machine's network traffic. The magic word here is copy. This whole process doesn't interrupt or slow down your live production traffic at all. It just makes a perfect duplicate and sends it off for you to analyze.
Now, here's a key thing to get your head around. The tab feature itself doesn't actually analyze the traffic. Its job is to stream that mirrored data to a collector or an analytics tool from one of Azure's validated partners. It's also really important to know that as of now, this feature is in public preview, which, as you'll see, comes with a few things you need to be aware of.
Okay, so we know what it is, but how does it actually work under the hood? Let's follow the data and see how it gets from point A to point B.
It's actually a pretty straightforward four-step process. First, you tell Azure which virtual machine you want to watch by configuring a tap on its network interface, or NIC. As soon as you do that, step 2, Azure starts making a complete copy of every single packet going in and out of that VM. Step 3, that copied traffic gets streamed over to a destination IP address that you've specified. And finally, step 4, that destination is usually one of those partner solutions we talked about, a collector that just gobbles up all that raw data and helps you make sense of it.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This sounds awesome, but what do I actually need to get this set up in my own environment? Let's run through the checklist of what you'll need before you start.
All right, let's tick the boxes. First, your VMs need to be deployed using the Azure Resource Model, which, let's be honest, is pretty much standard these days. You're also going to need one of those partner solutions deployed in the very same Azure region. Now, if you want to monitor VMs across different subscriptions, that's fine, as long as they all belong to the same Microsoft Azure tenant. And here's a little pro tip. If you're working with peered networks, you have to make sure the peering is enabled before you set up the tab.
Now for permissions. Your account needs to be able to create and manage the tab itself, and it needs to be able to read the network interface you're targeting. The good news? The built-in network contributor role already has all of these permissions, so that's the easy button. But if you want to be more precise and follow the principle of least privilege, you can always create a custom role with just these specific actions. Okay, now for the important part. Because this feature is in public preview, you really need to understand the current limitations. Think of this as the fine print you've got to read before you dive in.
All right, let's break these down. Right now, the source has to be a VM's network interface. IPv6 isn't supported yet, and you can't tap a VM that's in an encrypted virtual network. Now pay close attention to the ones marked temporary. These should go away once the service is generally available, but for now, it means no live migration for any VM you're tapping. Certain v6 VM SKUs are also a no-go. And this last one is a big one. You have to stop and then start the source VM one time after you deploy the tap.
And speaking of operational impacts, here's another number you need to burn into your brain: 60. When you add or remove a top from a VM, that machine might experience a short network outage for up to 60 seconds. It's a quick blip, but you absolutely have to plan for that in a production environment.
And I just have to circle back to that one-time stop and start requirement because it's so important. Don't just take my word for it. The official documentation says, quote, "If not done, you will get an error stating the NIC is not on FastPath." That tells you just how critical that one simple but mandatory step is to making this all work.
So we've talked a lot about sending all this mirrored traffic to a partner solution, but who are these partners anyway? Let's take a quick look at the ecosystem that actually does all the heavy lifting and the analysis.
Here's just a sample of the validated partners. And you can see some big names here. You've got companies like Gigamon, who are famous for network packet brokers, and then you have major security players like Darktrace, Vectra, and ExtraHop, who offer these full-blown network detection and response platforms, what we call NDR. The point is, you have a ton of choices, whether you need deep security analytics, performance troubleshooting, or just raw packet capture.
So let's zoom out and put it all together. Before VNet Tap, getting this kind of visibility usually meant installing agents on every single one of your VMs. That's complex, it's costly, it can impact performance, and you still might have blind spots. With VNet Tap, you get a direct, agentless copy of the actual network traffic. It gives you that deep, foundational visibility for both security and performance that was just so much harder to get before.
And that really brings us to the end here, and it leaves us with one final thought. With a tool this powerful, giving you a perfect copy of everything happening on your network, now that you can see all the traffic, what do you think you'll find? Thanks for tuning in.